Welcome to the Bucher and Friends podcast, co-starring 10-year NBA center Ryan Hollins.
Couple pump fakes, leans in, shot blocked by Ryan Hollins. Hollins sent that into the third row.
6 rebounds and 8 assists.
Hollins climbs the stairs.
Down the floor. Ryan Hollins! He is the high jumper!
That's what I want to see. Give me some gunpowder and throw the hammer down.
And now, here is your host,
Let's send it over to Ric Bucher.
Ric Bucher.
Welcome to another episode of Bucher and Hollins, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends, part of the United WeCast network, and coming to you live from Charlotte, the site of the 2019 NBA All-Star Weekend. We are both here to take part in the festivities, and this is the first time we're doing it live, and lo and behold, if this podcast sounds considerably better than normal podcast, one, it's because we're doing it in person for the first time since we've started doing the podcast, and two, because we just recorded we didn't record it. We rehearsed about the first 15 minutes of this podcast, and then I look down and the record button is flashing. So just, Ryan, fill us in on everything that you said over the last 15 minutes. No, the first question I had for you simply was getting here. It's Thursday night of All-Star Weekend. Things really haven't geared up, but your initial feel for this All-Star game or weekend compared to the ones you've attended before?
Well, I mean, I've been to LA, I've been to Vegas. Those are all madhouses. New Orleans. But, it's funny. One of my favorite All-Stars was New Orleans because I was able to get around. So I would assume there's going to be that same type of feel. But, Rick, I'm taking off Saturday morning.
Yeah.
But, it's funny to me, Rick. We were debating. I'll let you guys, the listeners, know that we were debating on where we're going back and forth. It's like, hey, man, I'll come to your hotel. You come to mine. And Rick's like, yeah, man, this is bad business over here. I might head out to you, man. And I'm like, Rick, have you looked on the map? Okay, I'm in the sticks, bro. You're right in the thick of things. Fresh off the elevator, Steph and Aisha. I'm like, come on, bro.
Right.
You're something else, Bucher. Come on, bro.
I didn't know you were staying at the other Marriott.
Yeah,
I thought you were at the main headquarters where they put up. I guess you may be the only player that's not staying, former or otherwise, that's not staying at the downtown Marriott.
Beggars can't be choosers, bro. Beggars cannot be choosers.
Somebody put
me in that mindset. Don't do that.
Somebody did you dirty, man. But hey, you got friends. You got places. You get places you can hang. You got entry into the main drag here in Charlotte. Yeah, it was a little surprising to see Steph and Aisha coming off of the elevators as we were getting on here at my hotel, simply because you would figure Steph is staying. I don't know. He's either got a place. He's got to have a place here, and if he doesn't, his parents still live here.
Yeah, he's got something. He's got a lot.
He's got something going on.
He's the mayor of Charlotte. He's the mayor.
He is. Which is, it's funny how everybody has been talking about the All-Star MVP and who it might be. This is lined up for Steph to be the MVP. You know how guys kind of set it up, and I look at there's always a guy that everybody kind of wants to have win it at a particular time.
Steph or Kimba. Yeah, but it would be time for Kimba.
Kimba's kind of new to the gig.
He is, and Steph has that effortless potential.
Yes.
If you're not smothering him,
yes,
the dude can go off for 50. You know what I'm saying? It's really effortless.
Yeah, he could hit a couple 40-foot bombs and that would tilt everything in his direction.
Yeah, somebody really going to chase him. Chase this guy around the 3-point line in a game like this.
I will say this: the most exciting part of the weekend has already transpired, and that was the picking of the teams between Giannis and LeBron.
A little tamper here, a little tamper there. Yeah. A little tampering ain't ever hurt nobody.
I said it before, though, when we talked about it. The difficulty isn't he going to give away who he'd most like to have on his team next year? You can't feed all those mouths.
Of course.
So you're going to favor whoever it is that you're looking to have with you the most. And that could have the Paul George effect, as in a guy who you don't woo, you don't wine and dine, and he goes, "Oh, okay, so I'm second, huh? I'm third. All right, maybe
I don't think guys are looking at it like that. I think Well, all-stars are petty. I think there's a level of guys who are going to look like that, but they're going to go, hey, LeBron picked me. That means something, And like he said, those are all unsigned, not unsigned, but free agents to be. So He's not picking anybody under contract. I mean, look, Brand, it's a business trip for LeBron, okay? That was a business trip, bro. There wasn't no casual pickings.
Yeah. I'm so fascinated by what happens with the rest of this year and how LeBron angles for next year. The pressure's on now, isn't it? I mean, especially where they are right now. Let's say, at best, 7th, 8th seed, 1 round and out. Doesn't that heighten the pressure of, well, now we gotta make a move. We gotta get somebody and we gotta get this train rolling, because there's no guarantee even that you get another star. It still could take you a year to get everybody up to speed for playing at a championship level with the way the competition is in the league right now.
You're right. The pressure's been on. To me, that pressure had been on since Paul George said, Since Paul George said, the pressure had been mounting.
Yeah.
And now KD lets you know it's a toxic environment. Everybody jumped on KD. Well, everybody looking at KD like, dang, bro, maybe you were right, KD. Maybe you were on to something. And then Anthony Davis doesn't work out. What's the Anthony Davis going to cost? Then you got to say, who's next? Kyrie Irving, that may be a saving grace. Kawhi Leonard now looks like he doesn't want to come when the Lakers could have made that. You know what's funny? They probably could have given less to San Antonio to get Kawhi Leonard. And Kawhi Leonard would actually be a better fit to get you a championship than Anthony Davis. So the Lakers are running into interesting territory, bro, because now you're leaning on Kyrie Irving to come or Anthony Davis to get traded. Those options are slim, dude.
And even that, because we're talking about championship or bust, right?
Championship or bust.
If they don't win a championship with LeBron, then it will be looked at as they fell short. And as you well know, you look at every championship that's been decided. You got to have the requisite stars to challenge for a championship. But they've been decided by 6th, 7th, 8th guy. They've been decided by the Andre Iguodalas. Dante Jones coming out of nowhere to give you something. Mo Williams. I mean, the ancillary guys contributing has been a big factor in who has ultimately won the championship. And they're scraping to get that other star. Can you put, the subsequent other pieces together? Markieff Morris, a guy that's with Clutch Agency that you thought, oh, he'll jump on there and then he'll be in position for next year. Lo and behold, he's signing with the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is kind of what I suspected. That guys look at it and go, hey, I'm going to go join somebody. Nothing's guaranteed for next year. I'm going to go jump on with somebody who I can play a role, and I got a shot at doing something right now.
And if you looked at, I would say, the last 3 weeks of what Paul George had done, helped solidify that. Of what Russ had done the last 3 weeks was like, that looks like something. They look like something now.
So we're recording while the OKC Pelicans game is going on, and I was watching the opening minutes before you got here. Dude, Paul George is on another planet right now. His ability to make contested shots
just so you know,
is out of this world.
Since your face is like turning the other way, every time my eyes blink, Paul George is doing something. Every time my eyes get big, he's doing something.
Well, he's been doing it all game long because, I mean, it's not as if they have this great flow to their game and he's getting easy shots. He's hitting contested threes. His game is at another level right now. And I know that Russ has been going back and forth with the media, but I got to say, I am so impressed with what Russ is trying to do. I don't care about the triple-doubles and the historic significance of that. Triple-doubles have been devalued in a major way because of the way the game is played. But Russ is trying to... Paul George is doing this because Russ is making room for him. They had a simple desire of just... I talked to Billy Donovan last year. And at the end of last year, they were like, we got to get Russ moving the ball, passing the ball ahead, pushing the ball up, passing it ahead, rather than him coming down 100 miles an hour and looking to make a direct play. I see him looking up, trying to find people early in transition all the time now. And when you've had as much individual success and you know you can go by everybody the way Russ can, that he is giving it up so willingly is really impressive to me.
POE, he's a product of his environment. When he played alongside KD, that ball wasn't coming back from KD. And the one thing that Paul George, he's somewhat similar, but Paul George he's a better playmaker than KD, a little more willing to pass.
I would agree.
So I think there's more trust there. And KD was just so, KD's unstoppable.
Yes.
So then Russ feels like, well, you're unstoppable. I got to be unstoppable then. And they end up butting heads. It's funny, they have that meme of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where Carlton and Will are fighting over the ball, and then Carlton just chucks it and they lose the game. Like, that was what OKC had turned into. But Paul George, there's just a trust there, like, hey, I'll run the pick and roll this time. You run it. Hey, I'm feeling it. Get me the basketball. And now Russ doesn't mind passing the ball and moving around the horn. He's a guy, in my mind, he's never minded to pass, but it had to be the right situation because he's going to adapt. He's going to go to get his.
He's a rare situation where normally sometimes it takes a guy to go someplace else. Like Kevin Durant. I don't know if Kevin Durant would have ever evolved into the player that he is right now if he'd spent his entire career in OKC.
No.
Going to Golden State, hey, dude, you got to defend. You got to help. You got to play within the way we play. And he became measurably better. Russ has become better by KD leaving and Paul George coming in, and the fact that Russ put up all the numbers and he still couldn't get to where he wanted to go, and realized, okay, I have to do it a different way if I want to get to where I want to get to. Rare guy who has that epiphany and does it without having to change teams.
But you know what? I did some digging, and every time that Russ has had a good team, he's made the most of it. Last time they were loaded with Harden and them, they go to NBA Finals. We cannot diminish, and even though everybody wants to diminish, they're up 3-1 on the future NBA champs. So that would have been a championship year for them. Easily. KD leaves, you go into a bit of a dark ages. Now he's finally got a team.
Still making the playoffs, though.
Right? Still making the playoffs. Now he's finally got a team again, and now the ball's popping and moving. So you got to sit back and reflect and say, ultimately, do I blame Russ? We'll call last year a mulligan year. It took LeBron and D. Wade and those guys a year before they actually got it together. So it's hard for me to really analyze Russ and say, because he's that type of player, if I don't have enough around me, I'm going to go get it myself. But if I got enough, I'll move the ball, man. No problem.
Well, look at last year, too. They were coming into training camp when they acquired Carmelo, and they had to figure out on the fly. Like, Billy Donovan and that team originally came in thinking we're going to create an offense for Paul George and Russ. Well, now you got Melo, and if you're going to take advantage of having Melo, you got it's offensively more than anything else, right? And Melo was struggling with that change. And with his struggle, everybody else struggled. How do we accommodate him? How do we make him feel good? Well, if you're doing that, now you're not thinking about your game and the rest of the game. So I agree with you. I certainly give them a mulligan on that. And I agree with you this. This is what's difficult is, like, I've always felt whatever the numbers are and whatever the accusations were about, stat stuffing to break the triple-double record or average a triple-double. I saw a statistic the other day about his 80 triple-doubles or whatever the number is that he wins. He goes like 70-20, and if he had 90 triple-doubles, they win all the time. So if the numbers produce wins, I don't really care. I've seen plenty of guys who've stuffed the stat sheet, and it's for L's. I'm going to criticize that before I'm going to criticize this.
Hey, man, take the points away, take the rebounds away. You're getting 10-plus assists a game, and you're averaging that. You're doing your job. Now it's on your teammates to make shots. And if they're only making 10 of your shots, if the guys start getting hot, those assists get really easy, bro. So you impact the game. Let's just erase every stat other than the assist.
The other thing that I've always liked, and some people have been critical of, is if he doesn't have somebody who's going to go get it, and at KD at times we would see kind of like give the ball up in situations Russ would look at it and go, 7 seconds on the clock? All right, I'm not going to wait for you. I'm going to go get it. And I'd much rather have a guy who says, if you're not going to try to win the game, I'm going to go try to win the game. And if he misses, fine. But at least he's being aggressive in doing it. I want to circle back for a second to conversation about Markieff Morris not going to the Lakers and the pressure on the Lakers at this point. How do you think, after everything that's gone down, and we know that from a technical standpoint, it was the Lakers that were trying to acquire Anthony Davis, and they put everybody on the table to do it. But how do you think those guys are feeling about LeBron at this point? Because the general conjecture is that was coming, and I've had a chance to talk to Rich Paul. He says, look, I wasn't behind that. I wasn't the one who said Anthony Davis has to be traded to the Lakers. I wasn't the one who put the names out. So with all that, how do you think Kyle Kuzma and Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball are looking at LeBron at this point?
Rick, there's no way they understand it. There's no way that they understand it. Your first time getting traded, whether you know it's coming, whether you ask about it, whether you complain about coach every day, it's a hit. Because you got to realize, as a high school player, as a collegiate athlete, as an amateur, you've never been traded. Maybe you got cut. Maybe you didn't make the team, but you've never been traded before.
Probably not even that. I mean, that's even rare.
Yeah, for
if you're,
NBA guy,
if you're an NBA caliber player.
You chose to go.
Yeah.
You chose to go. So dealing with that mentally the first time in your career, it's a problem. I remember the first time I saw a teammate, a good friend of mine, get waived, I cried. First time I got traded, I cried. And I asked for the trade. There's no way that you don't take this as somewhat of a rejection or a breakup, like a life-changing breakup. However you look at it, those guys, they're going to deal with it horribly. But hopefully after this first knock, this first hit, something drives home and it becomes more of a business to these guys. And I think of a guy like Julius Randle. It took Julius Randle about 3.5, 4 years, right? Yeah. Before he was just kind of at terms, hey, if I'm going to be traded or moved or not signed back, I'm going to be fine. And the dude balled out. And he's balling right now for the Pelicans.
So do you think that they look, just there's the shock value of, oh, wow, they don't want me. They're ready to move me. How much do you think they attach that to LeBron? As in, LeBron took away the stamp of approval. LeBron doesn't think I'm good enough to win a championship for him.
That's intriguing. It's tricky to say just because you don't, ultimately that is why LeBron signed, because he trusted that Magic would jump in front of these things. So maybe, this was the why Magic.
Which he hasn't, really.
He has, though. So probably 2-3 days ago, I'm not sure if you missed these reports, Magic said he's going to sit down with these guys one-on-one and talk it out. So Magic is now taking responsibility and saying, I was going to trade you. I was willing to trade you or you or you, and that's the reality of it, rather than LeBron having these talks. And that was really, him signing in LA, that was that talk, man-to-man, face-to-face. I want to just play basketball. That was what was reciprocated to me of what he essentially told Magic Johnson, and Magic said, I got it. You sign, I got it. And he's looking to hold his word.
Do you see any reason why they should change head coaches?
Yeah, absolutely.
And do it now?
2,000%. No, end of the season.
Okay.
Let me break this down to you, Rick. Luke Walton strategically has done everything he can. The guy's a winner. He knows basketball like the back of his hands. That is not a question. But when you deal with high-profile athletes of a LeBron James, it comes down to respect. Do you respect me enough? Are you willing to deliver the hard messages that will allow me to be the best? For me to not look at you and me just do whatever the heck I want to do. And that respect is lacking. And the reason I say it's lacking because you would never hear it otherwise if it wasn't. That respect wasn't lacking, there'd be zero reports.
Well, and it's a different team than what it's a different assignment than what they hired Luke to do. And you have a different front office than when he was hired.
He was brought to build.
Yes, exactly. And as soon as they got LeBron, that changed the whole dynamic. Mm-hmm. The odds, I saw some odds the other day in terms of who would be the head coach of the Lakers to start the 2019-20 season. Jason Kidd had the best odds, followed by Tyronn Lue, followed by, I believe, Luke, followed by Mark Jackson. I want to say those were the top 4. What do you make of that being the order of possibility?
All guys that command respect. They've won the league, champions, or they've been there, and the respect would be there of speaking to LeBron. And, I don't know if it's a race deal with LeBron, but you got African-American males. He was able to win with Ty Lue, Spoelstra, a man of color, however you want to look at it. I don't know if we want to say that that's an element, but that's what I can say. They're looking for guys that can relate to LeBron James.
Yeah. I think the part that people don't fully grasp when it comes to J-Kid being at the top of the list is the immense respect that LeBron has for him. And the fact that J-Kid beat him in the finals. And I was there firsthand. And look, somebody does that, that's always going to have a huge impact on your perception of them. The other part is the similarity in the way they play. And you add magic to that equation, you really have 3 guys who see the game in a very similar way. I know people have bagged on Jay, which I really find curious because I look at the team that he had with the Nets. I look at the team that he had in Milwaukee and how he developed Giannis, and people don't take into account the injuries that he dealt with when it came to that team. I don't look at anything that Jay has done and say, oh, well, he's like, I feel as if you've always seen the impact of him on his teams as a coach, particularly when it comes to dealing with the best talent that he's been given. He's had a great relationship with that. That to me says that says everything I need to know when I think about the possibility of him coaching LeBron.
Look, man, J-Kid was nothing short of spectacular as far as building LeBron. Mark Jackson built the Warriors. Steve Kerr inherited when I say he built the Warriors, it wasn't just like Steph and Clay were out there and they just kept getting better and better. I watched him mentally, you take a little pit bull, and I'm not trying to endorse dogfighting, you grab him by the muzzle, and you make him tough and you hit him, slap him. That's what he taught these dudes to be killers. Steph and Clay were, I don't want to say soft.
No, they're finesse. They were finesse players.
Play off basketball. They were not, because we were, when I was with the Clippers, we beat them every year after year. We knew they didn't have enough. And Mark Jackson instilled something. I literally watched it with my own. I was blown away when he was fired. I understand there's business of basketball behind the scene that you got to, make your president, make your owner happy. You got to do those things. You can't just yell and scream and stick the basketball, which I know Mark, right?
You can't diss the owner's son.
No, man.
You can't.
Man.
That's part of the politics that you have to deal with. Even if the son is telling you what he thinks or he's giving you his basketball acumen and you're Mark Jackson, you're looking at him like, really? You're telling me? You got to play the game, or you got to know when to hold your fire in certain situations. But the other part was, and this goes back to where the Lakers are, Jarrett Jack and Carl Landry and Jermaine O'Neal and the vets that they brought in there had as much of an influence on bringing Steph and Clay along and getting that team to play with the mental tenacity necessary as anything else. Or even Draymond Green, a young Draymond Green coming in there and what he brought to the table. All of that was vital. And when I compare what they had there, and we're talking about the building blocks of a team that could go to the second round and give San Antonio a scare, I don't see any of that. Not only do Lakers have to go get that other star, hope they get an AD or a Kyrie, but then they got to fill all those other spots too. Yep. I mean, it is a laundry list that the Lakers are facing, which again is why, I'm not optimistic that this is going to turn out the way Lakers fans hope it will, or what they assumed it would the second that they knew that LeBron was coming to LA.
Yeah, man. No, it is. And everybody, kind of besmirched the signings of guys like JaVale McGee, Rondo, Lance, those guys, but they'd won in the league. B's. And,
Rondo's he still is. I'm actually, this is one of the things that I want to work on. I want to write a piece about this because Rondo fascinates me as much as any player in the league right now in terms of, dude, he's played for like 4 or 5 different teams now, and yet the impact that he had in Chicago, in New Orleans, we see with the Lakers. I mean, they don't win the Boston game without him. The way he organizes teams, his experience with Boston. Why is it? Yeah, the one blip on it would be Dallas that I could see. Like, why is it that teams are more afraid of the dark side of Rondo than are appreciating what Rondo can do for a team? Because what he can do for a team, very few guys in this league can do.
No, we know what he can do basketball-wise as far as passing, running the offense, extension of a coach on the floor. But confidence-wise, the way he believes in you as a player and shows you what he needs from you and makes the game simple, Rick, honestly, if I wasn't in the locker room with him, I would not have, understood it. And he's a guy, I'll run through a wall for Rondo. I will run through a wall for Rondo, and he's selfless. He doesn't fall into this popularity contest of the NBA, and any guy that he gets his hands on, he's going to believe in, and he'll put you in a situation to succeed. And you don't always see that from big-name guys who succeeded in the NBA.
So what is it, do you think, that makes teams fearful? Because it's like he was available. He was out there, and he's signing these one-year deals. Nobody's willing to invest in Rajon Rondo. And when I look at his track record and what he's capable of bringing to your team, I just wonder why? Why wouldn't more teams want that guy?
You need a situation where, teams don't value veterans anymore. Let's start off with that. And then for 2, you've got to have a coach that is willing to kind of let him fly, or a coach that needs help. He's good for Luke Walton. He's great for Luke Walton because he's going to get those guys in the right spots. He's going to talk them up.
He's really good for Al Gentry.
He was great for Alvin Gentry.
As experienced as Al is, he's more good cop than bad cop.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Alvin's going to say, hey, man, play some defense. We need to do this, this, and this. Rondo's going to say, if you don't have my back, I'm going to grab you by your shirt and have some words for you. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you really appreciate that from Rondo. And there's certain things that players can do for players, coaches can't do for players.
Yeah. Well, he can get you a bucket. And he's going to get you a bucket where you know that Alvin's not going to call your number.
No,
Coach ain't going to call your number, but Rondo just might.
Bro, he used to tell me, I'm going to get you a lob right here. I'm going to get you a play right here, okay? Just be patient. Come here and do this like this. I'll get you this play. He'd tell me, and then it would happen, and I would look at him like, this is nuts. This is nuts, bro.
He knew it was there. He knew it was coming.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. So how big of a deal is Markieff going to, not going to the Lakers? I think we covered that. What does he do for the Thunder? Because for me, I already like them. Boy, this is a nice addition. There's
a power shift. And in a 7-game series, I would have given the nod to the Lakers because even the young Lakers play Oklahoma City very, very well. Then you add in LeBron and how stagnant that the OKC offense can get in big moments. I would have given the nod to the Lakers. But now you get Andre Roberson on steroids. This is a guy who can defend, another body on LeBron, who can also play off of the basketball very, very effectively and will hit a big shot from you. So, Roberson, the always question was shooting, and he'd been playing lights out, just back cutting, defending, doing a number of little things. So you add versatility to Oklahoma City, and you see Russ has been willing to pass, willing to move the basketball. So, gosh, this is scary for the league, bro. This is scary.
Last thing I wanted to hit, we got KD and his free agency, and he's pissed at the media for that. We can, on this podcast, still maintain our clean rating. I think we discussed that.
I stay away from it.
You stay all.
I stay all the way from it. I stay away from it, bro.
Well, I already laid it out there. So John Libby, our producer, can change things up if he wants to. Katie's upset with the media. Do you understand why? Do you look at that and say, Katie, I hear you, or you go, Katie, come on, man, you left it wide open. People are going to speculate. You got to be bigger than that. You got to understand that there's going to be speculation.
I love more than anything what KD does, because as a former player, you always censor yourself. And that censorship, it eats you up inside, and you call your friends, you call your buddies, and you're ranting, you're screaming. You can't stand it.
Yeah.
And KD said, you know what, man? I'm free. I'm going to tell you what I think and how I feel. And when you badmouth me or you ask me the same thing over again, I don't feel like answering it. He just said, I'm tired of censoring myself.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it. And he has shown it. And for me, he spoke for all players, man. He spoke for all players, Rick.
It is so refreshing for me to hear you say that, because I've told KD, I've had this conversation with him, and I've said, and I probably said it on the podcast, that, and I know that I've been asked about this on radio hits in various places. The reason KD is speaking his mind is because, and it seems like he's going overboard in that direction, is because he didn't in OKC. It was more of a San Antonio type of atmosphere, and he went along with, that was his first experience, right? Yeah. And then he takes all of this grief for deciding he wants to move on, and he just decided, you know what? I'm going to be a different dude. I'm going to speak my piece. I'm going to let you know how I feel. I'm going to tell you when I think that that's a bull bleep article or question.
Rick, to your point, remember even the KD that hid all his tattoos would never show his tattoos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He
was fully the chest and everything, but you didn't see anything from the arms, from the legs, from nothing. It was all gone. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like that's the KD. I don't know. Is he showing tattoos now? I haven't put in a thought to it, but he was very business savvy, business minded, and I think it's an intelligent move, man. He got that championship, and I don't think it's just, forget everything, but it's like, hey, I've afforded the right to speak now.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, you can disagree with the things that he takes issue with, and I believe there is. I think at some point he'll find some balance. I still feel as if there are times, Ryan, where he fights battles that are beneath him. Like, dude, you shouldn't even be worried about so-and-so writing or saying something about you. If somebody comes at you on Twitter, be above it, right? And so I think he'll find that place. But I told him directly, I said, look, I appreciate this KD more than that one, because I knew that KD felt the way this KD does.
Yep.
He just wasn't letting it out. And I think in some ways that created some of the dissonance with Russ in OKC. And then everybody was pretending like, yeah, nah, we're good, or this or that. And it was like, no, man, we can see that things aren't all good, and people then distrust your word when what you're doing or the way you look is different than what you're saying.
Yeah, Rick, I don't know how words can express the way. There's an anger like nothing else, man. When Joe Blow on the sidewalk, says blank your family, your mom, this and that, and hey, man, I'd slap you in the face if I saw you. I mean, you're getting disrespectful comments from people that would never do it. And it's like, yo, are you kidding me? Yeah. And you can't say anything back. There's nothing like it. It literally will, enrage you, because there's a level of disrespect. And even with Kevin Durant, people are writing just wanting to get responses from him. And even though you understand it, you get it, they're not worth it the day or time. If you see the wrong thing at the right time, it's a problem.
No, trust me. I mean, I've had my share of experience with that, and and I know better. I always ask myself 3 questions. Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said by me right now? Actually, when I'm in my right mind, I ask myself those 3 questions. And when I do, generally I get to this place where I go, okay, maybe it's not, like, I'm going to give it 24 hours. And if it still feel like I need to respond, then I will. And half the time, or more than half the time, I completely forget about it, or I realize, what am I doing? I'm giving them more attention than they deserve. But I've also been in those moments where somebody pops off and says something, and it catches me at the wrong time, in the wrong place, in the wrong frame of mind, and I'm going to light them up. And then and then you have all the fallout from that. Yep. And everybody's jumping on because you reacted, and they gleefully are happy because they got you to react. You feel like,
exactly.
Damn, they're feeling like they got a W out of this, and that's the last thing that I wanted to give them. All right, I lied. KD and that whole thing is not the last subject that I wanted to hit.
Yeah.
I wanted to get your take on...
Are we doing our collective today?
No, because there are no games to bet on.
Wow. I guess I don't think about stuff like that, Rick.
Yeah.
That's why I need you.
I only thought about it because as I was sort of prepping for the show and getting my equipment together to come out here to Charlotte, I was thinking, oh yeah. In fact, I brought my little book. I brought the black book with our records and everything, basically to show you that I'm keeping track of everything that we do. I'm very diligent about this. You're actually this past week.
Did I lay another egg?
You laid a major egg. I wasn't much better. We got to pick it up a little bit. I was 3-5. We for the first time did not do every game last week because we needed to follow up. We recorded early and we didn't do subsequent picks.
I blame Libby.
I'm going to blame Libby too.
I blame Libby.
Libby, our producer. Come on, what are you doing, John? Pick us up, man.
Jeez, you don't have to be a about it.
Anyway, that was we'll come back strong and get back on the beam post All-Star break. Somebody brought this up to me, and I'll bring it up to you. I'm curious about your take, and I'll give mine, obviously. James Harden and what he's doing. And some people are referring to him, and I've even seen some players refer to him in this regard, that he is the most unstoppable offensive weapon the league has ever seen. How do you feel about giving him that title?
So we're going to have to subtract championships because he hasn't won a championship with it.
Right.
But his skill set, he's quite possibly the greatest scorer of all time. And
wow,
the way that he plays, there's nobody else that gets hot like Harden, and at least for the regular season, wins like Harden. The fact that he shoots a step-back contested three-pointer trumps Michael's fadeaway. We're talking 3 points. We're talking to him getting fouled in the act of shooting. We're talking a level of consistency in getting to the foul line. So I can definitely argue that by skill set alone, he may quite possibly be maybe really is the greatest scorer of all time the way he's playing. But the icing is not on the cake as far as Michael's fadeaway, as far as Steph's three, as far as LeBron's playmaking ability, because we haven't seen it in a championship. We've seen Michael's crossover. We've seen Michael's fadeaways in championships. So I understand that nod. But by skill set alone, it trumps Mike's fadeaway.
See, the problem that I have is the game is so much different. The physicality, the type of plays in which he is getting to the free throw line and being able to get to the free throw line, as you well know, is such an advantage because you can score with the game stopped. You can recover. It's free points. And the level of contact that you had to fight through and that you just assumed was part of it. I mean, for you to get to the free throw line, just like we'll use Michael's era, you were getting clobbered. In that era, you go to the rim, nobody would go off of 1 foot because you knew you were going to get banged and you were going to end up on your ass. You were going to finish the shot. You had to go up off of 2 feet because you knew that you were going to take more often than not, you were going to take contact. And so you wanted to go up, not presenting yourself in an off-balance situation. And that's where, I don't want to take anything away. Harden has figured out how to be an unstoppable scorer within the game as it's played now. But for me to look at, and I only hear this, historically, people talk about a guy like Elgin Baylor all the way back in the day and what he was, and Michael. And I just think if I put them in this era, if I took what they had, wouldn't they be right there? Wouldn't they be doing, who would end up on top is negotiable, but the fact that Harden wouldn't be alone in doing what he's doing, it's hard for me to say it's right place, right time, as opposed to he's just this unique player that we've never seen before.
I'm not going to if with you, Rick. I'm not going to if with you. You just if Michael wasn't, and we knew his skill set. He's not playing in this era, so we can't say that.
Okay, so let's say, I'll put it this way then. If Harden was playing then, do you think he'd be doing this then?
Yeah, he's a master of the referees.
Oh.
And,
that's why
if he was a post-up guy, maybe different. But the way he plays, he would just draw. He may draw more fouls. Ironically, he may draw them because he's more of a face-up guy. I mean, maybe you could hip check him a little more. It would be different, but somehow I see this dude finding a way. Because, hold on, Rick, before you get excited, and I want you to tell me that the Jordan rules didn't exist. Tell me that Michael Jordan, during the regular season, everybody talks about how he got hit. Oh, Jordan got hit. No, Jordan knew he could drive in, jump into the body of the center, and get 10 to 12 free throws a night, and he would get his 30 points. So
that's a fair
let's not
point.
Act like Michael didn't.
But to be perfect, so the Jordan rules as far as the Sam Smith book and the Detroit Pistons, who came up with the Jordan rules, was how they were going to defend. That's the original.
I'm talking about the other Jordan rules.
You're talking about the other Jordan rules, and I just wanted a clarification. There are two sets here, and yours are as relevant.
I'm not talking about the no dunk.
Yes, that is an infinitely fair point. I go back to, and some of this is Harden was earlier on in his career, but when the Heat and the Thunder matched up in the finals, Harden had the job of defending LeBron and didn't do very well there, and it actually snowballed, and offensively, he didn't have his game. It was like it took his legs from him in trying to handle LeBron. Michael, I don't know, 9 times, he was a defensive player of the year. Defensively, he was giving it to you at both ends. Now, toward the end, second three-peat, last couple of years, Scottie was carrying the most of the water defensively. But Michael still could and still was a honorable defender. But there was a stretch there in his career where he was dominating at both ends.
Hey, when you play only 80 possessions, you can score and then come back and guard the other team's best player. Now, let me see that out of 120 possessions from Michael. It ain't happening, dog.
So here's the thing. So the speed of the game, and I'll give you your choice. You play the 100-plus possessions. Mm-hmm. But it's not the physicality. There's not the wrestling match underneath the rim the way there once was. Or you play 80 and you have the wrestling match. Are you telling me that this style of play is infinitely more exhausting than that style?
You're going to see more pulled hamstrings. The conditioning is different.
Well, that's different.
And you're running around, and Michael was physical, and that physicality. Not to take away from Michael's athleticism, it's just different for 120 possessions. I'm just saying you got to sacrifice one or the other. Now, Michael, if you want to score 40 or 50 points in today's game, you can walk to that, but you're not going to be playing the same defense, bro. So let's not act like playing. And then the offenses were more stagnant. Every possession, you watch guys literally travel from baseline to baseline, from paint to three-point line, bang, 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 bang. Back then, you guarded one guy one-on-one, other 4 guys got to chill for the possession.
You know what? I'm glad you brought up traveling, because that's one of the other elements, and especially when you talk about Harden's step-back 3. I saw him get blocked by, was it Anunoby in the Minnesota game? Because he took a legit step back. He only took one step back. It was only one step, and he went up, and he got that blocked. When you get the skirt, when you can go 2 steps back and then gather, dude, defensively, once a guy picks up his dribble, you already have an innate sense of how much space he's got, and whether you can contest that shot. If he gets 2 steps back, it screws everything up, because now he's created more airspace than you could have than you've known all your life defending is supposed to be there. And if he takes one step back and so you're rushing to close it because you're anticipating that second step and he just stops and goes straight up, now you're banging into him and he's getting 3 points or 3 free throws. This is my point. Look, we don't count the gather step. Like the gather step doesn't count anymore. Now you're getting 2 on top of this. And I'm reminded of this by the referee's defense of the Bradley Beal travel, which I'm sure you've seen, right?
Oh, God.
I mean, the traveling rule has definitively changed. And I can't pinpoint when it changed, but in the last couple of years, you're getting a full extra step. Like we don't even count the gather step. Dribble comes up, now you get a step. That's the gather step. And now you get 2 more steps. That means we're now liberally giving everybody 3 steps. That's not the way it was. The difference between the NBA, college, and high school was it was a step and a half. It was a hard step and a half at high school and college. NBA, it was always a full, you got 2 steps. Now you get 3.
Okay, I will credit Michael for that because if you ever go back and watch Michael, you always looked at the dunks. But if you watch the moves, his footwork was impeccable.
I agree.
Michael's footwork, there was nothing like it. And a lot of things he did. See, it's interesting. Michael played more like a small forward than he did a shooting guard. Why? Because he was physical. He'd go post you on that mid post. He'd go post you on the block. He'd jab you, open up, step, turn, fade away. Michael wasn't the off-the-bounce three-point shooter.
True.
Kobe's game was a little more prolific in that. And you could even, by generation, hear me on this, you could even make a case towards Kobe Bryant as a better player than Michael if you talk about by generation, by seeing tougher defenders, by what he had in his game. Now, Michael's dominance speaks for itself. We can't go to that. But if you think of the level of competition that Kobe Bryant had to see, it was a different level than Michael. Now, granted, I'm never going to have that conversation because there's no Kobe without Mike. You know, we're never going to dive into that conversation, but he kind of took that Mike 2.0 and added in that long hanging crossover, the three-point shot. Those are elements that Mike didn't have in his game. Not to say he couldn't develop it, but Michael played more pinch posts on the block. It was a simplistic basketball game.
How much do you think, though, that was also a function of playing in the triangle and playing in the triangle without a dominant big man? That Michael, in many ways, offensively, the way he played he was almost like a mid-post big, as opposed to Kobe, for the most part, played with Shaq. And even when he didn't have Shaq, he had a decent fill-in, secondary, no doubt, but he had a secondary in Powell in terms of when he was winning championships.
Triangle was different. The triangle, anybody can post. Everyone has freedoms to play any position. And if you want to get a post up or you want to get to the block, you can get there just through the reads alone. I had the opportunity to play in the triangle, but I think it's just different. Kobe broke the triangle a lot. They made different rules. Michael played in the triangle, but Kobe kind of had to break the triangle, if that made sense. So we're talking apples and oranges, but in Michael's NBA, you had centers that were slow as molasses. You had bodybuilding power forwards. Each guy had to play against different eras. And a guy like LeBron James, even though the paint is more open, he's running up and down at a different pace, guarding these guys, running these 6'7", 6'10" guys off the three-point line. So there's a million different elements, but you have to say the basketball game that we play today is better than the basketball game that Kobe played and better than the game that Michael played. But you do have to give the nod to his dominance, but Michael just didn't see the same competition. He didn't need it.
All right, so before we say goodbye, we will do a couple bets here. We're going to give you our picks for the Slam Dunk Contest. The 4 contestants are Dennis Smith Jr., now with the Knicks, Miles Bridges from the Hornets, Hamidou Diallo from the Thunder, and John Collins from the Hawks. Who are you going with?
Dennis Smith Jr. It's a no-brainer. He's the favorite. He's a Knick now. This is a no-brainer. And they always credit little guys for dunking. And he's got some ups.
Yeah, I could see that. You have a second? Who do you think's in the finals against him?
If I'm going to go with a guy in the finals, I'll say Bridges.
Yeah, I'm going to go with John Collins from Atlanta, just because I don't know what he is as a dunker, but I've been impressed with his game and his season. I feel like he's got the mindset of doing something fairly creative. You got to pick in the Team US versus Team World. Who you like?
I'll go Team World.
Oh, look at that. I think looking at these two teams, Team US, you got Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Trae Young, Kyle Kuzma, Jaren Jackson Jr., De'Aaron Fox, John Collins, Lonzo Ball, who I assume is not playing, Marvin Bagley III, and Jarrett Allen. Team World, OG Anunoby, DeAndre Ayton, Bogdan Bogdanovic.
Yeah, bro.
Luka Doncic.
Yeah, bro.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, bro. There's definitely a spread. If there's anybody doing anything, there's a spread for that
Ben
one.
Simmons, yes. All right. And then the three-point contest, we've got Seth Curry, Stephen Curry, Dirk Nowitzki, Buddy Hield, Damian Lillard, Chris Middleton, Kemba Walker, Danny Green, Devin Booker, Joe Harris. Give me who you think, who's your favorite and who's your dark horse. I'll let you pick two.
Steph Curry, favorite.
Okay.
Dark horse, Seth Curry.
Interesting. I'm with you. I'll go Steph, even though Devin is the defending champion. But in Charlotte, he's going to have all kinds of support. Steph is behind him. The crowd's going to be way behind him.
They're going to be in a two-man race. They're going to get so competitive over this.
Yeah. And then, my dark horse is Joe Harris from the Nets, just because of the way he shoots it. He's got a really compact shot. He's not a jumper per se. He's strong, and I think that you shoot that many in the time frame, it does become a little bit of an endurance contest. The skills challenge is Luka, Trae, De'Aaron Fox, Mike Conley, Jokic, Tatum, Kuzma, and Vucevic. Who do you like winning the skills challenge?
Well, we can take Vucevic out. I'm actually going to go with Luka. The one thing Luka has is a great left hand, and somehow the left hand comes to play. It's going to be a factor, but speed alone, maybe Mike Conley gets in there with the speed, but I'm going to go with Luka. That's my favorite.
I'm actually going to go De'Aaron Fox. I'm going to go with the speedster. And I'm thinking, my concern is he going to knock down the shot? Is he going to knock down the three? But I think he's going to create enough time that he can take the shot more than once and still win it. So I'm going to give it to him. I also think Kuzma might be. Guy that I think it takes him too long to do everything is Jason Tatum, and same with Jokic. All right, that's it. So we'll see how we did. We also find out Team LeBron versus Team Giannis. I guess by default I am Team
loser. Team loser.
I was gonna say, I guess I'm Team Giannis, but LeBron's starting five. 3 of his starting 5 are my guys. So. And I kind of agreed with you that Giannis didn't make a very the Chris Middleton pick to start off his reserves kind of shot him in the foot. So I guess there's no bet. Who do you have? You have LeBron winning, right? You have LeBron's team winning. Yeah, I do too. All right, that's it for the Charlotte All-Star edition of Bucher and Hollins. Remember, you can, if you enjoy the show, please drop us a rating, review us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Screenshot the review and send it to us, and you'll be eligible to win some swag. And the swag bag right now are some Bleacher Report socks, Game of Zones hat, and a sweet Game of Zones Joel Embiid Trust G Process t-shirt. You don't want to miss out on that. So jump on and give us a review. Also go to bucherandfriends.com. There's a survey link there. Only takes a minute or two. If you fill that out, you'll be eligible for a $50 gift card to Amazon. All right, that's it for us from Charlotte. Next podcast will be Will Blackman and I breaking down all things NFL and everything else. It's the off season, so who knows what we'll get into. But that will be Monday. Thanks for listening.